Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. This is the AI Empowered Fundraiser Show, and my name is Ann Murphy. If we haven't met before, hello. And I want to encourage you, whether you're watching this live or watching this down the road, feel free to get in touch with me, DM me on LinkedIn. And if we're not connected, first connect, and then you'll be able to DM with me. Feel free to drop your questions and gems into the chat, even if this is after the fact, because we go back and we look to see if anyone has added any questions. And if you are here, please, this can absolutely be an interactive conversation, and that makes it even better. So please, these little tippy tappy things. Hi, Talisha. So delighted that you're here. Feel free to just tippy tappy. Let us know what questions you have. If you have burning questions for me or Kate, general questions about AI and transparency and stakeholder trust. This conversation can go a lot of different directions, and we're more than happy to skew it toward what you all are interested in hearing today. Again, my name is Ann Murphy. I'm going to just chat for a couple minutes about an AI ethics topic that's been really on my mind a lot the past month or so. And then I'll bring Kate Carter on, my guest today, who I'm so excited to be chatting with, and can't wait for those of you who haven't met Kate before. I can't wait for you to get to know her today. And she's she's a pillar in the AI community. So know that you have two women here who are in your corner, like ride or die hype girls. We will do anything we can to help you with your AI journey if we can. And we love collaborating with folks, and we love talking about what might happen in the future. So feel free always to be in touch with us. So typically on Thursdays, we talk about AI governance, ethics, stakeholder trust. And one of the things that's been coming up again and again for me, it's kind of like, I think it's called the Mandela effect. Is it the Mandela effect? Where, like, if you buy a white car, all of a sudden you start seeing all these white cars. So I started getting pretty interested in the loneliness epidemic. And this kind of connects back to my graduate school and undergraduate work in. Did it just go down for a second? Yeah, okay, now it's back. Well, hello again, everybody. So when I was in college and graduate school, I studied how people self-identify in their unpaid time. And that is going to rock that world so much, because everything that we're doing as we become like AI first individuals, let alone society, everything we do impacts our self identity. I run into lots and lots of colleagues who, identify as writers, as I often have at different points in my life. I've been, I was a mommy blogger. I'm now writing a book. Like, I've thought of myself as sort of a writerly person in the past. And then, generative AI comes along, and it's a little bit of like, oh, wait a second, this craft that I've honed, like, I've worked really hard to become a better writer. And now, just like with a little bit of, guidance, AI can actually become AI plus me, right? Is a much better writer than what I do just by myself, depending on the context. But then you start to wonder, like, wow, okay, I was a writer, but what's the value of being a writer these days? So that self-identity component is huge. You partner that up with the fact that, we as a society we peaked in our like connection to one another in 1967. And since then we've become less and less connected. And of course, over the past probably 10 years, we've become super polarized because of our political environment and also global pandemic. So here we are, and we have this opportunity to address some aspects of the loneliness epidemic with empowering people to build relationships with AI, whether that's through Character AI, which is the third most popular AI platform in the world. They have over 20 million subscribers to Character AI, and which I'll say what it is in a second, but listen to this. Not only do they are okay, so they have 20 million subscribers, which is not a ton of subscribers. I think OpenAI has like 160 million, and Bard has like 150 million. But nonetheless, 20 million, like objectively speaking, it's a fair number of people. But listen to this. The average user's time on the app is 2 hours a day. And the average session is 39 minutes, whereas the average session in ChatGPT is 7 minutes. So you kind of see it kind of paints the picture that some members of our communities are spending a lot of time talking to characters, and that's what Character AI is. You can create your own avatar. They can have like, more and more customization. You can choose their own voice, what kind of expertise they have. So, there's psychiatrists, psychologists, coaches, co-writers. There's all manner of like hobby interests, and then there's like just like have a friend, have a friend that you can flirt with, right? Like lots and lots of different opportunities there to get exactly what you want. Third most popular platform. Okay, now this week Meta rolled out, or was it last week, either this week or last week, Meta rolled out an improvement to their chatbot characters. Initially they were created based on like famous people, like movie stars, or like popular culture figures or something, and nobody was really using it. But now you can go on and create your own person in quotes. And so we see that this is becoming ubiquitous, that we will all have relationships, especially once we go into AI agents, when the agents are doing things for us and they're doing them really well, we are of course going to pour into those relationships so those agents know as much as they need to know about us in order to like perfectly, purchase plane tickets for us, right? Initially, if we did it right now, chances are we could get a few options, but they wouldn't be the right ones, la la la. Now, over time, they're getting better and better. So one of the things that Kate and I are going to talk about is, the pros and cons of developing relationships with AI avatars and how it impacts the social sector, including like Kate's work in the medical field, both of our work in the nonprofit world, my work with donors, and nonprofit clients. So we're going to dig into the pros and cons of having our own, multiple, no doubt, agents, chatbots, characters who we are engaging with. So, and Kate, with her breadth of experience, will have a lot of insights for us. So with that, just a couple reminders, and then I'm going to bring Kate on. So in the upper left-hand corner is a QR code for our virtual AI summer camp. Click on that. All you have to do is point your camera at it, and it'll take you to our website. And then you'll be able to, and if you're on I'll drop the link too, in case you're on your phone right now and you can't point your phone at it, obviously. And that is, we are super excited. It launches really soon. It's myself and 𝗞𝘁𝗲 𝗖𝗿𝗁. We're teaching you how to use the tools. Like, you will finish this week-long program. We've got 4 sessions and 2 optional sessions. You will be, when you are done with this, you will be at a level of AI mastery that'll put you in like the top 1% of users. You will be able to do so much, probably everything that you could hope and dream that you would be able to do, honestly. And we're also going to talk about identity. So we have a coach coming in to talk with us about how do we kind of think of ourselves during the AI revolution, because things are changing so fast. You'll have the opportunity to meet some founders if you choose to come to one of the optional sessions. You're going to learn advanced AI writing techniques. We're going to talk about privacy and data security, and how to build your AI policies, and how to launch an AI council. We're going to get you all squared away. So it's definitely money and time well spent. And because I had somebody ask me, is it the same stuff that we offer in all of our free webinars? No, this is the secret sauce that we do with our paid programs. It's not the same as like the free webinars that we do, or some of the ones that you see out there in the world. There are a couple really, really good ones that might kind of compare, but this is like more of an intermediate and advanced kind of offer. Okay, with that, I'm going to bring on Kate Carter. I'm super excited, and I'll share a fun fact in advance, which is that Kate, I think you need to I don't know if you're currently up to this, but Kate in her past has been a roller derby athlete and has an awesome name that I want her to share with you. So everybody, welcome Kate Carter.
So excited to be here with you. Thank you for having
Yay.
me.
Of course. So tell me, tell the good people all about you, and tell us what your roller derby name was.
Oh my goodness. I love to roller skate. Like, there's nothing better than roller skating. And then when you get to roller skate and knock people down, it's even that much more exciting. So I was on a team called the 𝗞𝘁𝗲 𝗖𝗿𝗁𝗿. And so it was really important to me that my like derby name incorporated some type of restaurant element, but then also like I'm like grew up on hip hop, so I needed some hip hop elements, and then I needed something to tie back to the motherland, the continent of Africa. So my roller derby name was 𝗞𝘁𝗲 𝗖𝗿𝗁𝗿, and it's a play on Wu-Tang. It is a play on Queen Nefertiti. It just was me, right? And I loved everything about it. And one of the reasons I stopped was I ended up I adopted 2 children, and around the same time, girls were breaking their tibias, and so I was like, I can't afford to have a broken leg, and an infant child, and so I had to hang up my little apron, but I cheer them on because I just love it so much.
Yeah, you can't have a broken tibia. I had one on Christmas. I got myself one on Christmas Day, and no,
No, it's nothing. Not.
no,
I'm
not
too
for having
old. I
kids,
can't afford
for
it.
sure.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Good call on that. But still, oh my gosh, roller derby. And so, are you able to get out like roller skating
Yeah, I
nowadays?
still enjoy roller skating. We have a roller skating here, a rink in Tucson. So I usually
Nice.
have adult night. I prefer adult night because, kids can kind of go all over the place. But yeah,
Yes.
it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Awesome. What do you do when you're not roller skating?
Like in my
About a
free
million
time,
things. Like like your actual, like, how about your
my
work?
like life. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, your life.
Yeah, in life, it feels like I do so many things. It doesn't make any sense. I work at 𝗞𝘁𝗲. So 𝗞𝘁𝗲 it's short for Mission Impact Academy, and our mission is to upskill 1 million non-technical women with AI. So that's my startup world. I work in healthcare as well. So I do physical therapy with children with special needs. So in the
Mm.
afternoons, I'm doing home health. I'm out treating. A lot of my kiddos have autism or cerebral palsy, spina bifida. And then sometimes I get a call. This weekend, I'll be at a hospital. I think it's fun to go to a hospital, and you just never know what you're going to see. It could be like gunshot wound or car accident or 90-year-old that fell down and broke their femur. And so it keeps me on my toes.
Yeah. Okay, and also, by the way, you're working on your PhD.
I start on August 26th.
Oh my goodness.
In a few weeks, yeah. So I start my PhD in artificial intelligence, and I know that my research will be centered around AI in healthcare because I want it to be
Mm.
equitable and transparent and accountable and all of those good words. And there needs to be diverse voices in the space. And so, you know that saying, like, if not me, then who? Like, you just got
Yeah.
to show up and do the work, right?
Yeah, 100%. But you're doing a lot, a lot, a lot. And I also wanted to highlight that you already have a degree in cybersecurity, in
I'm
computer science, in
close, close. I have a couple of degrees. I have all of the degrees, all of the college debt, really. I have a master's in blockchain technology and cryptocurrency.
yeah.
It's I believe the fourth industrial revolution kind of umbrella is a great equalizer for women and people of color. And I have a master's in applied leadership and management from Thunderbird, which is an international business school.
Jeez. Okay.
So
See, everybody, I
all the things.
told you she's remarkable. I'm so glad you're here, Kate. Why can we dive in with um, you sharing some observations about how, like, in healthcare, like, imagine maybe you even have a story or two from some patients as an example. How could developing relationships with chatbots impact the healthcare field and the experience that people have inside the healthcare industry?
Yeah, it's such a good question, and I know it's going to be like maybe controversial in a sense, right? Because
Mhm.
depending on where you lean or sway, but there's like so much loneliness. Like when you're in skilled nursing settings or dementia wards, often those people are no longer getting visits, and the staff since COVID is burned out. So there's like less staff. There's still the patients, and there's just not enough of us. And so there's a great opportunity, I think, to provide the elderly generation with some type of chatbot that allows them to just connect like socially and emotionally with something, right? That wouldn't exist otherwise. And so I think it's such a great use case, and I want to see more of it, not less of it in that space. Another example I have a kiddo that I treat that I noticed was cutting, right? Like a
Yeah.
self cutter. And I introduced them to Pi AI. Pi AI is
Mm.
a great chatbot. And it's really just for them to explore those feelings that they don't feel comfortable maybe sharing with their mom or their friends or lack of friends for that matter, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, like depending on no matter like how dark your thoughts are, like you can just dive right in
Yeah.
and Pi will offer you advice, right? Like, well, I'm sorry, why are you feeling that way? And like it ends up being a
Yeah.
conversation. So those are two great use cases. I feel like could be really used in the counseling world and then really used in that kind of skilled nursing,
Mhm.
retirement communities, where people, they're transitioning. It's a huge transition in their life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of brushes with this. One is one of my clients helps people get onboarded into a new career path, new employer by providing them with, if they need training, if they need tools, if they need, childcare while they're like relocating and getting used to a new community for a new job. And what they found during COVID was they had to go, typically they have an individual human being doing intake with the folks who need their support. And when COVID hit and everything, I mean, it just went bananas, right? Lots and lots of people needed more and more support. They they implemented a form that people would use. And what they learned was very quickly, people were providing more information that was absolutely necessary to get them the care and the support that they needed. They were providing more information when they weren't talking to a human being.
Mm.
And that really that really kind of like turned a light bulb on in my head, because how many other examples do we have of that in life where we may not want to be, face to face or voice, with another human being because we're concerned about judgment. I mean, we all know how hard it is to ask for help. It's one thing to do it with an inanimate object like a form. It's another thing to do it with a human being.
Right.
So it's like the outcome for getting the services was better. Now, I would be curious to how those people felt about the experience, like, because they may not know that they got better outcomes by going through the form. They may have wanted to talk to a human. We don't know. So then you're like, what would be the impact if somebody wanted to talk to a human? That could be a downside. They may not come back if they didn't like interacting with a form. That's an example of where that came up recently in my life. And then the other thing, that there's a fairly hot topic in nonprofit fundraising right now about the use of autonomous fundraisers. And one of the things that we have to balance is how can we build our pipeline of donors and potential donors with the volume of qualifications that need to happen? We currently have human beings. Who do that. And some of the work that they do is incredibly repetitive, super high burnout. Like they're just rolling calls all day, and they burn out on our entire fundraising profession because it's not fun. It's
Yeah.
not rewarding. So we've turned humans into kind of robots, like the desired effect is like qualify as many people, right? Upgrade as many people. Like it's very metric oriented. And a home run is when you reach the most people, right? Like those are the good employees, are the ones who like do the most outreach. So if we're turning people into robots, should we just have AI do it? And
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
like, let the people, have a different career path, have a different on-ramp into this profession. And I'm almost landing the plane here, but the challenge here is like that, I think, balancing the pros and cons, like particularly when it comes to empathy. Can like pi and I know why, like Pi is so empathetic, like oh my god, such a good chatbot to have deep, meaningful, emotional conversations with. Like it's the best.
Yeah.
So if you imagine, could an autonomous fundraiser develop even more it's not real empathy, I get that, but if it feels like empathy, does it matter if it's not empathy? Does it matter if it's AI, if it hits as empathy? So
From
that's
an
a question.
organization point of view, I'm sure what they're concerned about is, okay, did that person end up donating, right? So like whether a
Yeah.
person on the end felt like it or not, felt the empathy
Yeah.
or not, did they make that extra click and then do the donation? Or did they make the extra click and volunteer? And, I don't know about you, but my phone's been going crazy with different campaign text messages. I mean, it's like nonstop every single day. And so like I see the importance of it, and I understand how someone could easily burn out from doing that job, especially just getting hung up on, or just it's frustrating maybe for both parties, right? And so yeah, I would love to implement tools like that. Like 𝗞𝘁𝗲 said, there's so many use cases. It really is endless. And for those smaller nonprofits, for the domestic violence shelters, for the small local food banks, like they don't have a lot of resources. So here's an opportunity to deploy a tool that could just help them, right? Just lighten the load, and Because for the most part, it's just a matter of me knowing, like, oh, this is a great cause, and then I'm there. And so it helps, I think, get that information out and can help those smaller nonprofits really succeed.
Yeah.
But then to your first point, going
Yeah.
to healthcare providers, so many of us, there's something called white coat syndrome. So we
Yes,
feel
talk about that.
really uncomfortable, almost like a doctor walks in with a white coat and we shut down. And sometimes when we're shutting down, it means that I can't articulate what's really going on with my body because I don't think that this person's going to listen.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Doctors, man, sometimes they're in and out. There's really no they might as well be a robot. There's no interaction. I will say in the realm of physical therapy, because we spend so much time with people I am up close and personal, right? And I am there
Yes.
for an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. So I really get to learn your linear story, not just like the event that took place,
Mm.
right? Like you're not just that broken tibia. There was lots of things that led up to that moment in time. And I think that's missed in healthcare because people come in with a symptom and then we just try to fix that symptom. And that might just be the scratch of the surface. And so, I can see how a chat bot, in essence, can get a person to tell the whole story of how it got here.
Mm.
And then that literally helps you
Mm.
diagnose better. It's because it usually is not just the car accident or the refrigerator that you lifted. It is a lifetime of events that got you to this place,
Ooh. That is such a good point. Like if a doctor's not able to do that level of exploration
Yeah, they
into
don't.
the context, they don't, then they're providing unrealistic recommendations probably.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
I know I have told the doctor what I'm pretty sure I think they know they want to hear before.
Yeah.
They want to hear that I'm going to wear the cast for my broken tibia or the
Yeah.
boot.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear me say, that boot sucks. It's uncomfortable. I'm not wearing it. Like I just say, yeah, cool. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'll do
Or
that.
they're like, you are just here because you want pain meds and
Oh.
that kind of thing.
Well, okay, so here's a use case. So let's say somebody is accustomed to a level of microaggression or discrimination, just like the mind-blowing data about Black women and how they're treated in the healthcare industry. Maybe it would be better to not have to put ourselves in, or like for me, a comment in my age range is like, whatever you say, it's always going to be blamed on perimenopause, right? For like, since I was 35 and now
Yeah.
I'm 50. So 15 years of everything you talk about is just perimenopause. Like maybe I would like to be able to explain in a cogent way, this is not perimenopause, and I would have time to do it. And maybe AI could analyze it and tell the doctor, here are the 5 reasons why this is not perimenopause. This is something else,
Yeah.
or I don't know.
No, I absolutely. I think, well, that's one of the use cases of AI is finding trends that us humans, one, might not have time to even discover and analyze, but those minute things that are like really make such a difference. And like the biggest was when I was in school for PT and I was in one of my clinical rotations, my clinical instructor was like, that's your patient right there. This woman, they just deemed her as like a trouble patient, right? She'd come in, she was crying, nothing worked. None of the interventions worked. They were just frustrated with her. And I sat there one day where none of the interventions were working. And I said, what's your favorite ice cream? Because I just needed to break up the pain pattern that she was experiencing, right? And she was like, and stopped her in her tracks. She was
Yeah.
crying. She then starts telling me about her favorite ice cream being pistachio. And she's like, my husband really loved mint chocolate chip. She then says, my husband died in my bed next to me, and like started crying again. And I was like, in that moment, it like clicked. I was like, you're not here for the car accident. Like your pain is like this emotional heartache, and it's trauma, and we all have it in different various forms, and we're going to experience it in life and in our healthcare system. It's like get in, get out, get in and get out. And the unfortunate side of it. But I think AI hopefully will help help in many areas regarding this, right? Individualized care, individualized treatment.
Individualized care. Yes, individualized care, individualized customer journey,
Yeah,
individualized client journey, donor journey, you know, and our own, like the like for me, one of the things that I've really shifted toward, that's been a profound impact for me, is in the morning just talking with ChatGPT about the day, right? Like now my day is better organized. There's a better path through my whole day because I've had help organizing my thoughts, organizing my hopes for the day, organizing what's bugging me. Like I'll usually talk about like, where am I stuck? You know, what on my calendar looks challenging today? And like the personalization of that, and the fact that I don't have to I don't have to emotionally burden anyone with my
yeah,
stuff, or like bum them out if I did wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Like, cool. You
yeah.
know, how good. On the other hand, what are some of the things that concern you, Kate, about people, like particularly in the healthcare field, patients and relationships with chatbots?
You know, in the healthcare field, not per se, but just in general, one of the, I think, touchy things that we need to consider is that inability to then connect with actual humans.
Yeah.
We already feel very disconnected, even though we're kind of more connected. Like I'm following a lot of you in the chat on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
And I know what's going on, but there's still a disconnect. And I think it can set up false expectations of how real humans should exist and behave and respond. Because if your chatbot is tailored toward your likings and that's not societal norms,
Yes.
you're going to run into problems then. And then maybe even
Yes.
alienate yourself even more. And I think that could be true, like in a skilled nursing setting. You start to see behavioral problems and things like that as our brain is changing and going through a
Yeah.
change, and so we can exasperate those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had an example come up with this. So with all of the, you and I were talking about how our world right now is absolutely driven by politics, whether we want it to or not, whether we're low information or a political junkie, it doesn't matter. We all exist, as VP Harris says, in the context of what happened before and what will happen in the future. So one of the things that I ran into with my dad, who's 81 now, and he's in Michigan. So anything that comes up that's related to health, like I want to know in the moment. But because, all of the AI systems are doing such a good job of splicing, who gets what information, my dad's text messages, well, all of ours are pretty full, but a lot of them are of interest to him, right? Like, the political ads are targeted for him.
Mm.
He's interested. Like, is Gretchen Whitmer, who's the governor of his state, going to be vice president, for example? Very interested. And so what he confessed to me, though, was that he actually hasn't been finding my text messages from him. So we needed to go back to phone. And I was thinking about how, as a bossy firstborn daughter, and not unusual in that regard, how many parents who might be aging,
Mm-hmm.
when they develop relationships with chatbots, the adult children are going to have thoughts and feelings about it.
Yeah.
And if you think about, my dad is at home and doing his own thing, kicking it every day, but at some point he'll be in long-term care, probably,
Yeah.
potentially. But if you think about how, from an organizational perspective, how can like the facility leadership navigate that they have some patients whose families are okay with this, some patients who are going to burn the place down if they find out that their loved one is talking to a chatbot and they'll think it's instead of,
Yeah.
right, nurse or another caregiver. So
How do you feel?
how do
Like,
I feel?
let's say your dad is in long-term care, right? And that communication starts to decrease even more. And you find that he's now kind of just functionally daily. It's more chatbot, not even that many actual humans that are, they're working, right? They get them to lunch, breakfast, and dinner,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
I'm going to give a little bit of a long non-answer, but one of my friends was just sharing with me her recent experiences with her dad, who is going through some health concerns. And he was grumpy. He was grumpy and belligerent and actually a little
Yeah.
mean-spirited.
Yeah.
And she was like, yo, I got to like take a break from you. And I thought, in that case, wow, as if I was going through that, which I did go through with my mom, and I can tell you for sure that there were days when I would have much preferred that whatever was being taken out on me would be taken out with a chatbot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, whoa, if there's somebody else, something else that could field some of this, some of what could be toxic, then I would be like, absolutely. And then there's a piece of me, though, that kind of would want to be able to see, like, is my dad going down a path of like, my dad invests in Bitcoin. Like, what if it went to gambling, Or so then I'm like, should an adult child like be seeing what the parent is doing?
Yeah.
And then the third part is, how would I feel if I felt like that interaction was taking the place of interaction with staff? I don't know.
All of those things are valid. And
Right?
I mean, there's definitely like a security risk, right? Like you can jailbreak LLMs and get it to do things. And we already know that there's healthcare data breaches and all of that. So that is an easy target if that was a tool that was implemented across the country in like skilled nursing facilities, long-term care facilities. That really needs to be that's an actual risk, right? Because we know that it's a vulnerable population. And there has to be the ability to opt out, like that. I have to have the right to say, like, I don't want this. And there's a lot of time when you get to that stage with like your aging parents or aging loved ones, where there's a battle between what you feel is right for them and what that adult human feels is right. And sometimes I'm stuck in the middle of it in a room, and it is a lot of tension, and it can be awkward because it comes into like history, like family history dynamics, cultural dynamics, so many little things. Because again, we're not just that car accident, we're a lifetime of events. And so sometimes these adult children have really bad life experience with their parents, and that plays a role, and vice versa, right? And so there's so many elements. There's not going to be a right or wrong. We just for sure need to make sure that we're protecting the vulnerable population, and that there's the right to opt out, because we all need that.
Yes. I love that. And then in which case there needs to be like people process culture around the opt-out people as well as the opt-in people. So this is an area where organizational leaders need to be thinking about, think about it in the context of donors. All right, this group of people is comfortable with a journey with our organization that's AI powered. This group of people only wants human beings to reach out to them. Right. And this group of people, we have no idea yet. Right. So then, if you're entertaining both the opt-in people and the opt-out people, that's additional, structure that we need to have in place for our organizations. And it's much better for us to start thinking about this stuff right now than when it becomes urgent, because everything we do with hiring and purchasing technology and creating policies, everything that we do today is going to be changed or undone when you need to onboard some of these AI powered technologies. Like if we're setting up something brand new or hiring a person who's going to manage the opt-in versus opt-out, like we should do that now and get it right the first time, ideally. If we don't, we can break it later, but it's just harder to innovate when you've just created new structures for your business operations. I was wondering if you can comment on Talisha's example, which I think is fascinating, of how we can use an AI chatbot, having a house call experience through storytelling and or conversation with a chatbot, which is then provided to the provider.
I've seen, Talisha, so there's a great use case. There are AI nurses now that are kind of functioning as that old school house call, like that I envision doctors used to go with their doctor bag and kind of examine the family and really know the family, right? Like know when all the kids were born and have that community ties that don't really exist anymore. But I think that like the AI nurse that essentially is kind of like on an iPad allows for that more personal experience, and then can report back to the medical provider or medical team, because it's usually vast amount of doctors and clinicians that come together to take care of us as individuals. So I think it's a great way, and especially for you and I, like women of color, like since there's already so much
Mm,
mistrust,
yeah.
it'd be nice if people like us were building these systems so that we can build in that emotional support piece and just help mitigate the things that have been done, right? Because we can't undo those things. We can progress forward, you know?
Can you say more about the impact of who is creating the technology? Like one of the things that came up for, for me was when I learned that the OpenAI developers were influenced by the movie Her. I thought about, okay, the impact of them being influenced by that movie versus other movies or other inputs. So, and then of course there's just in general all of the biases that come into the the whole system of
Yeah.
creating software and hardware. Can you talk a little bit about that, the impact of that um, on culture?
Yeah. I think, I mean, we see it in many areas, whether it's entertainment, and that's the easiest one to kind of come out. That
Mm,
if we are not in the room, like shaping the story, just the same repetitive story gets told over and over and over again,
mm,
right? And then we just believe that this subsect is more violent, or this subsect is
mm,
this, right? Is
mm.
a terrorist, is a gang member, is, and sometimes when you're prompting, you get those visual images too, because it's just set on our bias, right? That have
Right.
existed. And so there's an amazing tool called Latimer.ai, and it is built with data from historically black colleges that aren't on the internet, right? So all of this text that doesn't exist on the internet, that is a wealth of knowledge, is now in an AI model that's more diverse. Erin, yes, that's it there. Erin, I can't think of her last name, but she's building Chat Black GPT, which again is
Yes.
more inclusive model for those
Yes.
reasons. And I think the same thing needs to be done with other cultures, right? Like because I'm coming from this medical background, I
Hmm.
value Eastern medicine just like I do Western, right? And there's a wealth of
Mm,
knowledge that's not encoded on the internet, that that
mhm.
we can either just miss completely, and we might, or we can actively say, look, we want to be inclusive, like we know that this is important, just to make things more balanced. And like now's the time because the
Yeah.
barriers to entry have never been so low, for women and for people of color. And so I just encourage everyone to get involved at wherever your level is, whether it's just a
Yes.
consumer, being like a knowledgeable consumer, knowing like, hey, that
Yes.
ad was not real, right? Like that was AI, because things are getting really hard to distinguish. And then being able to say, no, I want to opt out of this. At MIA, we just had somebody do a case study on, it was on correctional facility, and they're using a large language model to predict whether you're more likely to commit another crime. So
Ooh.
just inherently, it made me really angry, because if you're going off of our history, you're just going to say like,
Yes.
okay, black people are more likely to commit crimes. That's not necessarily the case, right? um,
Right.
and the system, when they went back and tested it, they had lots of false positives where it said, white males were least likely to recommit crimes, but they did. And then I started to ask questions like, but we don't even have a rehabilitation system. Like that's not what our justice system is. So we
Ooh.
can't use a large language model maybe ever in that scenario in
Yeah.
our country, because of our history, um,
Yes.
because of all of yeah, just because of the bias in the data. And so I just think there's so many opportunities, to, whether you're just a consumer or you want to actually build and you're an engineer, you have that brain, or you want to be on the ethical side, the advocacy side,
Yes.
there's a space for you. There's a space, and you're needed, and you're
Yeah.
needed to keep it safe.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're needed, like all of us. Like we can't, we don't want this stuff to happen to us.
Right.
And right now, there are opportunities for us to help guide it. Like, Kate, when you're in conversations with doctors about how AI is being used, you get to help them understand things from your like well-rounded point of view. Like maybe folks don't even know exactly what's happening, and maybe it's going to be helpful for them to know what to look for. Like,
Yeah.
one of the things I like to remind people of is that while the LLMs are super biased because they're based on all of our biases, not to like ignore using them because of the bias. What you do is you refine your own skills at identifying bias,
Yeah.
right? And you do that by working only within your zone of genius, only within your subject matter expertise in the beginning. Like, I wouldn't know if there's bias being introduced if I wrote about black holes. Like, who knows where that could come from? I don't know. But if it's storytelling about fundraising, for example, or facts and figures, I have enough context because it's my subject matter expertise to know, like, that thing came across as biased, and I'm noticing it now because I'm not too close to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, back in the day, I would have written something and been so close to it that I may not see the bias that I wrote, or I received it from somebody else who's perfectly brilliant and a good writer, and I get it, and I'm like, well, if they wrote it, there can't be any bias in here. Now that I'm looking at something that something objective put on my plate, I'm like, I can look for it with an eagle eye, and I've started to see things that historically I hadn't seen.
Right.
So it's not good to just say it's biased, so we're not going to use it. But it's very helpful to know about resources like ChatGPT and Latimer.ai, where you can begin to trust that you're getting information that's going to be more like holistic, well-rounded,
Yeah.
and also focused on the population that you're trying to serve, by the way.
Yeah,
Right?
because there needs a voice for all of our individual walks of life, because we all have communities that we're coming from. I think another thing that's really interesting is when we're interacting with these tools, we're essentially training them. So as these biases are being shown to you, if you're recognizing it, one, we have power in our social media hands these days, so you can call those companies out directly. And I have seen it done.
Yes.
I have literally seen it done. I've also seen, I think it was a chief operating officer of 𝗞𝘁𝗲 just put on LinkedIn, like, hey, we want some feedback for this feature. And so they are looking for feedback. It is on
Yes.
us to either provide it or, I mean, I guess just complain, because we can do that too, but then it doesn't get any better. And so
Yes.
if they're going to implement a new technology in your city that is doing facial recognition or something, right? And
Yes.
it could potentially lock up people that shouldn't be locked up. Go to your city
Yes.
council and advocate for it not to be implemented.
Yes.
If your tool Canva is producing images that are like, why do you keep just giving me this when I'm asking you
Yeah.
a very broad question?
Yeah.
Write to Canva and let them know. You can also
Right.
prompt to say that's incorrect, right? Like, I need this to be this way and more diverse,
Yeah.
because you're training the tool. So we have power, and use it, use it to make a difference.
Yes. So LinkedIn user, if you can, drop your name in the comment, but if not, that's cool. But what I love about what you've shared here is creating AI imagery is another way to start honing your like sense of bias. Like, you'll start
Yeah.
with something that's super obvious. You'll go, okay, I said, send me a picture of a woman CEO, and it sent me a white person, like, 10 times in a row. Okay, so we've got problems. Or maybe you go, like, a next level would be, you say, send me a an image of a photorealistic image of a middle-aged woman who is a CEO, and it may not even be able to provide you a photorealistic because there isn't enough data out on the internet. There aren't enough images of anything other than women who are in their like 20s, right?
Yeah.
Like that's who is featured, and oftentimes white women, right? And so then now and heaven forbid that you should ask for an older woman, you're going to get a full-on cartoon most times.
Yeah.
There's so you start to hone, or you say, include people who use wheelchairs in this image, and it'll send you like the really old-fashioned wheelchairs, not a sporty one, right? So it looks like they can't get around the room. Like, no, we know that's not accurate, right? Maybe some people wouldn't know it's not accurate, in which case they might go, maybe I'm outside of my zone of genius here. Maybe I shouldn't use AI for this project. Yeah. The other thing about the images, there was something else about images that kind of jumped off the page, is that, okay. Oh, is this true? So Kate, and maybe 𝗞𝘁𝗲, when we make images and we keep correcting ChatGPT or Midjourney, does it go into the training data?
It depends. So I pay for my subscription to ChatGPT, and you have the ability to turn that off and on. Same in Perplexity. Like I have the
Okay.
ability to allow it to use it as training data or not.
Okay.
There are custom GPTs that I have been using for art specifically because I want to kind of keep creating the same character, or like develop that same character in a linear path. And so I'm using a custom GPT for that. So it depends, I think, if you toggle that feature on to allow it to be training data or not.
Okay. I don't know for sure if I'm pronouncing 𝗁 correctly, but I hope I am. And if I'm not, please correct me. But do you have an example of where you're seeing this specifically, like a specific use case? Or do you happen to know, like, are there other tools out there that help us train the models so that some of these images start improving? I know that Dove, you know how Dove came out, I don't know if it was like a decade or more ago. They've got a whole like playbook on how to create images that represent all women. And it's actually still pretty complicated, right? Like writing a good prompt for images is, especially if you're in like Midjourney, where you can really dial it in, but you're very much using, you're not coding, but you're very much using very specific language and structure of your prompts in order to get that out. So I'm like, God, I hope this can help train Midjourney. Oh, it says, Talisha says the metadata of the corrections are incorporated into the models. Okay.
It's good.
That's good. That's really good. I wanted you, if you would be so kind, to take a second to talk more about Mia and what you all are up to. And I'm a member and loving the experience. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to be a member and what your hopes and dreams are?
Hopes and dreams. So I actually started out as in their very first cohort, way back in the day when like blockchain and NFTs were all the rave. It's crazy how quickly things change, right? And now it's like AI, and you never hear about blockchain. Blockchain's still very important. Talisha can validate that.
Oh, really?
And
Okay,
so
good.
when I first started out as a member, I was in my blockchain masters, and so everything aligned perfectly. And then as they continue to transition more into the realm of AI, my name was just brought up like, oh, I think Kate's, it's just connections, right? It's a very small world. I think Kate would be great at helping us with this. And then I jumped on board since then. And so we do a variety of things. We have a global AI summit coming up in September. I'm really excited about. Definitely, as a member, you get a free ticket, but there's industry leaders from around the world, and I think it's so neat to just learn from people and the projects that they're working on and how they're making their individual impact. We have an annual AI membership. So every single month, there is a different theme, like generative AI or responsibility and ethics, business and AI, where we explore different tools. We have different speakers, and really, it's more just about community, right? Because a lot of women entering the tech space feel uncomfortable asking questions. They feel uncomfortable because we haven't quite had a seat at the table, and so it's definitely a safe space to not know, and it's a safe space to
Yeah.
say, I need help here. And it's a tribe behind you.
Yep.
And that tribe is lawyers and medical doctors and stay-at-home moms, like
Yep.
anyone and everyone in between. I think we all have some value add, right? And so,
What I love,
yeah,
yes. Yeah. I love, first of all, like, I think that the majority of our learning for the next X number of years is going to be done in community. Like, we're going to really need to lean in on some of that work in more ways, because so much of our work is going to happen independently, right? The
yes,
work is going to happen independently. Um, and it's going to be one of the few ways we have to validate that we are like dope ass humans, right?
yeah,
It's going to be like, oh yeah, I know, because I'm in Mia with her. Like, yeah, she's awesome, or I don't know her, but she's in Mia, so I could definitely connect with her and find out. Something
exactly.
like that is,
Yep,
and as you like go into communities and think about, what do you want your role to be there, right? Like, do you want to be the person who's always like, in the chat with resources or hyping people? Do you want to be the person who's always at the events and well prepared? Do you want to be the person who's like dropping gems from their industry? And that's how you like, that's for me, like, has been like the recipe for building a community that I can totally lean on and lean into, like,
yeah,
any day. Like, I knew that I could reach out to you, and that between you and a couple of other, Mia leaders, I would be able to have a great show that would bring the Mia point of view into it. Like, that was something that I just knew would come to fruition, either, now or later. And that happened because I attended your summit, which I thought was absolute fire. I mean, everybody, please put these
weren't they
dates. And
phenomenal?
it was, it was beyond, like, I honestly, I mean, because obviously a lot of us have gone to a lot of summits,
Yeah,
and there is like, there's good, there's, worth the time, there's not. And yeah, agree, 𝗞𝘁𝗲. And yeah, we can
I had
all,
people like message me and they're
yeah,
like, I have a whole business idea, but because of what I heard today, I have to rethink the whole thing. And like, that's what I live for. Like, now you're going to
same.
go, because it was all about ethics, right? And responsibility and having a framework. And like, now whatever you develop is going to be better. Like, just
It's going
because
to be
you heard
better.
somebody speak, and I think it's so neat.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, 𝗞𝘁𝗲, wasn't it amazing? Yes. So like, so we have, I'll take the opportunity to share a couple of things that we have going on. One is, yes, I love the praise for Mia in the chat. So She Leads AI is a global initiative. We just highlight women leaders. We highlight each other on social media. We have events like knowledge swaps and quarterly roundtables. Eventually we'll have a summit, but to your point, when I saw your all summit, I was like, oh no, I don't need to do a summit, because they're doing a summit and theirs are fire, and Anne Murphy, just cool
You
out.
just join it. You know what I
Step
mean? Like
five,
you just join
right?
it, and yeah.
I was like gonna spend who knows how much on doing, a free summit the first time and hiring people to help me with it. And I was like, or I could just be a member of Mia, absorb all that friendship and peer mentorship, and of course go to the summit and direct anyone who I would have invited to a summit that I would do, invite them to the Mia summit, because it's better than anything that I could do.
Thank you.
So She Leads AI, we now have a newsletter. So that is the URL, and you can grab the URL and just click it. That is our newsletter, so that you can find out about events. I publish, like Siobhan just, launched digital polycrisis ecosystem. So I announced that in there. I want to send an issue today or tomorrow that reminds people that Allie K. Miller's LinkedIn course just dropped yesterday or the day before, but it's only free for a week. So I want to drop a reminder into people, just stuff like that. Like, I'm not talking about, the big tech and Wall Street. I'm not talking about drama on boards. I'm not talking about shiny new tools, but it's about like women who are killing it in AI and the events that we have that are coming up. So that's the Slay Effect. That's our newsletter. And then I have a much smaller compared to Mia membership community called the Incubator, and it's really focused toward women who are repotting, pivoting, launching, who are becoming entrepreneurs, who are like the quote unquote AI person now in their organizations, and shifting toward people getting across the board training, launching AI policies and AI governance. So that group is, we host on Mighty Network. And I know, isn't it good? Talisha, I finished 3/4 of it, and now I'm like savoring the last couple of lessons to listen to on my walk later on today, because like they're so good. And it is a tight 40 minutes. Like, it is really, really well, like, just keeps clipping along. So anyway, so we have the Incubator. So I wanted to let people know about those things too. Kate, before we wrap up, let me know, are there any gems that you wanted to share that you didn't get a chance to convey yet?
2 things. One, I want a She Leads AI shirt. I need some merch
because
I want to.
We need merch.
I love the logos and the vibe, and so I want merch. One,
okay, merch.
I'm a big merch girl.
Really noted.
And then 2, I am in AI 2030 as a global fellow, and it is a global network of individuals coming together to create responsible framework that is transparent, accountable, and all of those things. Right now, there is an opportunity to nominate a woman, yourself or another woman, as an AI leader. And there's 4 categories. And so I want to encourage you, even if you feel like you're not a leader, for whatever reason, like, just nominate yourself or nominate somebody right? Because you never know if the selection committee will select you, and that could catapult you on this career, because we need more women in this space. We need more people of color in this space. And so get on the AI 2030. It's on my LinkedIn. I can reshare it in this group chat when we're done. But nominate someone. Nominate someone.
I love this. I had no idea. So this is a perfect example of how community, it's like the rising tide lifts all boats. And I'm totally gonna like reiterate what Kate said. A lot of people think, well, I can't qualify, or I don't qualify. And sometimes, in particular, women will look at it and go, I have to be crushing it on every single one of these criteria, when in fact, no, we don't.
No.
Like, we want to, I'm sure they want to know like why you're great, what you're up to, and that it doesn't, you don't need to be some mega superstar in AI for this award.
You don't. And so there's 100 individuals that we're looking to recognize from around the world. And I want you to be one of them.
Yay, everybody. Do that. Sign up. So Kate, you're going to drop the link for that in the chat. Okay. Kate, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
You're so much fun. So fun. So fun.
We'll do it again.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And if you're watching it on the replay, don't forget to get in touch with us if you want to, if you want help, if you want to do a collab, if you have a show and you want Kate to come on, and I'm sure she would love to hear that. If you're interested in Mia, if you're interested in connecting and nominating person for 2030, if you're interested in this, anything. Oh, AI Summer Camp. I'll plug the,
yes.
You're so welcome. So glad you came. I'll plug the AI Summer Camp one more time. If you haven't already checked that out, and let me grab my link just in case one has, let's see, hold on. Here we go. It is going to be so good. And Rachel Kimber, who's my co-teacher, is, I'm so glad, Kathy. my co-teacher, she is fire. Rachel Kimber is her name. And if you're not following her on LinkedIn, please do, because she is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Ooh, okay, good, good,
Sorry,
good.
that was a
Everybody,
lot.
so there's the link. No, there's the link. That's awesome. And we'll put it in the show notes. We have show notes coming soon. They're pretty much ready, but put them in the show notes, our draft, and I'll post a clip of this and I'll put all of our links in there too, Kate, so that people can do the 2030 thing.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you again, Kate.